Your Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Locked On Canucks, your Thursday edition. Thank you for making Locked On Canucks your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. My name is Lachlan Irvin. I am a writer over at Canucks Army. And if you listened in yesterday, or if you didn't listen in yesterday, you're probably wondering where Nick Bondi is today. And that is because he yesterday was his last show. He moved on to a great new job. So it is just me again for the time being. I am sorry to disappoint. No, I'm just kidding. We're going to have a very good show today. We're going to talk about the Canucks, preview the Canucks and the Flyers today, and talk a little bit about Jaroslav Halak as well, and the potential of him starting tonight's game. One thing I feel like we should touch on very quickly here. I know this is a Canucks show. We don't usually discuss a lot of, matters going on with other teams. But quickly wanted to just we don't have the time to get into the entire situation surrounding the Chicago Blackhawks over the last few days, which is, that recently came out. It's been a shock to say the least in terms of just the scope of it all, the investigation, the 102-page report that came out from Jenner and Block, who had been investigating. Of course, up to last night, Rick Westhead's interview with Kyle Beach, who revealed himself as Jane Doe in the investigation, and the main person who has been fighting against the Blackhawks for justice. And Kyle Beach is a true hero. His courage is far passes any of the cowardly people who did not put his best interests at heart, and who put championships and winning over human decency. And I think that goes without saying. If you would like to learn more about it, I highly recommend you go read any of the writing by Rick Westhead at TSN, by Katie Strang at The Athletic, Mark Lazarus and Scott Powers as well at The Athletic Chicago. I highly recommend you go read all their writing. They've been running basically point on this story for the better part of this year. And we owe them a lot of gratitude for doing so and constantly putting in the work and trying to get to the bottom of this as best they could. And obviously, Kyle, obviously love and support to him. And if you want to listen in and learn more from shows that are going to be dedicating themselves to it on our network this week, I highly recommend going to Locked On NHL. They just did a whole episode about it themselves. And Locked On Blackhawks, of course, is going to be doing a lot on it as well. So I highly encourage you to go check those out today. And it's obviously a bit of a hard right turn back into hockey. Hockey seems very secondary in times like this and in situations like this. But we do have a Canucks game to talk about today. The Canucks play the Flyers tonight. Their second meeting, obviously, they won the first one a couple weeks ago, and it's going to be a different goaltending matchup, a completely different goaltending matchup from the looks of things. North Vancouver's very own Martin Jones will be making the start instead of Carter Hart. Hart played last night against the Oilers in a game that the Flyers won. So the Flyers are coming in on a back-to-back situation. They're coming in having played against Edmonton last night, being the first team to beat the Oilers this season. They end their undefeated streak. And this is going to be another game where the Canucks are not so much up against it. They're going to be playing in a situation where the Flyers are coming in with a big boost of confidence. They have, since losing their first game to the Canucks in the home opener in overtime, they've gone 3-1. So they've looked pretty darn good over the last little stretch here, particularly guys like Cam Atkinson, who has 5 goals already this season. It's been a good start for him. Claude Giroux obviously getting into the mix. Cam Atkinson, sorry, I said 5 goals. I did not see the third period. 6 goals. He has 6 goals in 5 games. He's had a very good start to his season. He's looking quite good. Derek Brassard has 5 assists thus far. The Flyers are very much clicking on all cylinders right now. They're firing on all cylinders right now. They're looking like a team that actually has the ability to compete in that Metropolitan Division. I personally had them out of the playoffs. But so far they're proving otherwise what their full potential is with the changes that they made over the course of this offseason. The Canucks are coming in looking very different in a sense. Yes, they got their wins against the Chicago and Seattle last week, but they're also coming in off their home opener where they played, I would say, nothing short of an incredibly lackluster performance against the Minnesota Wild. They clearly did not put up the effort that they should have. They lost 3-2 because of it. Bo Horvat obviously had a good game. The Alex Chason had a power play goal. But overall, the team just didn't look like themselves. And that leads into the fact that the Canucks are going to be icing a slightly different lineup today, particularly because Jason Dickinson once again will not play. He was not on the ice. Justin Bailey will play today. He will play. He is skating on a. According to Thomas Drance of The Athletic, he was skating on a line with Nils Höglander, and I believe if I can get it up fast enough, I believe the other one was it Miller? Was it? No, I don't know if it's JT Miller. I have the lineups in front of me and I lost them. Oh, sorry, it's Pedersen. It's Elias Pedersen. That's who it's expected that's who the rushes were this morning in morning skate today. So far that's an interesting group. Pedersen playing with like Justin Bailey, big chance for him, which is interesting because, Justin Bailey's not really a high profile scorer by any stretch. He's more expected to be your depth guy. So to see him playing in this kind of a situation where he's going to get an opportunity with Nils Höglander and Elias Pedersen centering is wild. But again, that comes back to the fact that the Canucks are, when Jason Dickinson is injured, they're a little bit void of center depth, specifically when it comes to the fact that JT Miller is going to be centering that third line with Brock Besser and that second line, I guess, with Brock Besser and Vasily Podkolzin. It doesn't. Yeah, I guess the numbers don't really matter here. Pedersen, any line with Pedersen is your first line. Any line with Horvat, Garland, and Pearson, the one line that continues to remain untouched because they have been playing very, very well, is your second. And then I guess that means Podkolzin, Miller, Besser is your third. It's kind of just a mixed bag at this point. The Canucks just need to get anything going in any sort of stretch. Obviously, the power play has gotten a little bit off the hump of late, but even still, they don't look as good as they could. One of the things I want to see from the Canucks tonight specifically comes with the power play. Yes, I get that Alex Chason had a goal, but that goal was largely due to literally Elias Pedersen slap passing it right to his stick and Chason just having to put his blade in front of it. And also the fact that Brock Besser was not on power play 1 in as part of that. Chason took Besser's spot on PP1, and frankly, there is no point in doing that. There's no way that helps your team. The Canucks need to play Brock Besser on power play 1. If they want to have success, if they want to play at this kind of a level, they need to have Brock Besser playing on the same group as Elias Pedersen. And it is not, it's inexcusable that he's not playing with that group. I get that you want to spread the wealth on your power play units, but overall, the only way you're going to get the best results out of that first power play unit, which is the one you need to be hitting the mark on a routine basis, frankly, more than the second, involves not playing taking Chason, putting him on the second. If you feel he has value on that power play, put him on the second, and then play Brock Besser on your first, because you're not going to have nearly as much success the other way around. And we're going to get into Jaroslav Halak starting tonight's game and why that is important for the Canucks, why I'd tell people to settle down, to chill a little bit when it comes to how many games Jaroslav Halak starts this season, as well as a little bit into the injury bug and what the Canucks are going to be doing to kind of mitigate that in the defense as well. But first, we got to talk about BetOnline.ag, where BetOnline AG is back and better than ever. A new web interface for the start of basketball season and more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all the basketball and football action this season. Head on over to their new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code, Locked On, to receive your bonus. From basketball, football, baseball, hockey, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games, don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. Moving on over to talking about Jaroslav Halak now. Obviously, the big thing that keeps coming up every time Jaroslav Halak seems slated to start a game is the performance bonus clause. Essentially, it is written into Jaroslav Halak's contract that if he starts 10 games or more this season, or plays in 10 games or more this season, it triggers a performance bonus in his contract where he earns an extra $1.25 million this season, which could potentially put the Canucks over the cap. The problem is twofold here. It's a double-edged sword in a sense. I'm seeing a lot of people. I shouldn't say a lot. I'm seeing a few people really harp on the Canucks for playing Jaroslav Halak, specifically in regards to that performance bonus. And I get where that is coming from. I get the fact that you want that the Canucks put themselves in a situation where their salary cap is in a way hinges on players not playing up to those performance level bonuses and not being capable of hitting them to a sense, and how it could completely mess things up for the team going forward if Jaro Halak hits that 10-game total. The problem is that you need Jaroslav Halak to play, in my opinion, you need him to play more than 10 games, bar none. We can give the Canucks crap for giving him that performance bonus if you want to, by all means, but he does need to play these games. If we're getting into a point in the season where the Canucks were, let's say Jaroslav Halak through the first 41 games had played 9 games already. You can't sit here and tell me that, okay, Halak, you're done for the year. Demko's going to play the next 41. You need to give Thatcher Demko as many opportunities to rest and as many opportunities to not have to play a crazy number of games if you believe that you're a playoff team, which the Canucks seem to believe they are. That means playing Jaroslav Halak as often as possible. And I've said before, I think that number is close to around the 25 to 30 mark. I think that possibly even higher. I think that you need to give your starting goaltender, as many opportunities to rest up and not overcook him before the regular season ends and the real games begin in the playoffs. If that is your mentality of how you're going to play things, you can really wreck a goaltender's progression by overplaying them. As much as we goalies want to play every single game, it isn't good for us to do it. And I'm not going to sit here and tell the Canucks that they shouldn't start Jaroslav Halak in games simply because it's going to trigger a performance bonus if he plays too many. I think Jaroslav Halak is undoubtedly going to play more than that 10. I think he's probably going to hit again. I think it's barring any health issues. I think he'll play probably close to that, at least 20. He'll probably play at least 20 this year, and that's the right call. The only thing that could maybe change my tune on this is, again, if it potentially came down to a situation where the Canucks were able to move Halak to a different playoff-bound team and bring Mikey DiPietro up to back up Thatcher Demko near the trade deadline. That's the only way I see this playing out, where you could potentially avoid triggering that performance bonus. But again, that is hinging on probably you playing Thatcher Demko too many games. and overplaying him in the early half of the year. I think your backup goaltender needs to be capable of taking on at least 20% of your games over the course of the year at this point, if not more. And right now, if the Canucks keep going at this kind of pace, if they expect to play Thatcher Demko in as many big games as possible, that's going to be required. It's going to be required that Halak gets in as frequently as possible. Right now, he's already on slate to start 2 this month, to start at least 2 by the end of this month. He'll probably start another 3 by the end of next month. And that'll put you at 5 before December. So the question becomes, are you going to bench Halak for the sake of not paying him the performance bonus, or are you going to do right by your starting goaltender and give Halak as many opportunities to play in order to keep your number one goaltender in Thatcher Demko rested and healthy and ready to go at his best possible place? We're going to talk a little bit more about injury stuff and how the Canucks lineup is affected going into tonight's game against Philadelphia in a second. But first, a little word from our sponsor, Rock Auto. With the ever-increasing numbers of makes and models, it is now impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts you need. Why endure often pointless or seemingly intimidating questioning and wait while the person behind the counter orders the parts in their computer, choosing the only brand their warehouse happens to carry? You have computers with access to rockauto.com at home and in your pocket. You can save time and money when using Rock Auto, and they're a family business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. Their prices are reliably low for every customer, and they have everything you could possibly need for your vehicle, from brake parts, tail lamps, motor oil, to even new carpet. Just go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck. But right locked on in their "How did you hear about us" box, so they know that we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com. And finally, today we finish a little bit talking about the injury issues. We already kind of touched on Jason Dickinson's situation. The last thing we're going to mention, of course, is a little bit about Tucker Poolman. Tucker Poolman left the last game against the Wild midway through with an injury. He did, however, return to practice today, skating back with Quinn Hughes on a pairing. Regardless of how you feel about Tucker Poolman's defensive capabilities, and I certainly have my opinions on that, you're at least happy the Canucks are able to avoid an injury situation, especially right now. As it's been made clear in the last couple of days, Travis Hammonic has returned to the Canucks organization. He is currently skating in Abbotsford. He is slated to at least play a game or two, I think, before he joins the Canucks. And right now, that means that you need the Canucks to stay healthy on that right side as much as possible until he's able to arrive. Because had Poolman gone down, there are 2 things that could have possibly happened. One is you end up with a right side of Myers, Shen, and Hunt, a little bit, a group definitely in above their heads. Or possibly the worst option is bringing up Hammonic too early when he hasn't played or practiced or gotten in enough time to get back to NHL form. Either way, it's a bad scenario. So the fact that Poolman is going to be able to play today is very, very good. It keeps the Canucks at least as healthy as they possibly can going into this game against Philadelphia. And for the short term, you hope that at least Poolman is not playing through a major injury and that they're not trying to keep him in the lineup on fumes a little bit. Hopefully this is a case of, nope, it was just a stinger that happened to take him out of yesterday, the last game, but he's back and ready to go today against Philly. I think the Canucks are going to be playing in a situation where they're going to get their opportunity. They're going to get their opportunities tonight. The offense will, at least. I think the defense needs to be able to keep up with them, especially against a Flyers group that seems to be playing their best offensive hockey they have in quite a while. You need guys like OEL and Tyler Myers to be able to step up. You need people to be able to take the workload off of Quinn Hughes, who is still playing close to 30 minutes per game because of how weak the Canucks are defensively at this point. It'll be interesting to see which a third pairing ends up in this game, because if you've been watching of late, you'll know that usually Jack Rathbone and Kyle Burrows have been paired together in most games. Interestingly enough, according to Thomas Drance of The Athletic in the morning skate today, Kyle Burrows was skating with Luke Shen and Rathbone was skating with Brad Hunt. So that would likely mean that one of those two is not playing tonight. I would hazard a guess to say that guy right now is probably more likely going to be Burrows than Rathbone. So I would imagine that Rathbone and Hunt are probably the duo going into tonight's game, but we shall see. I think overall, I think that Rathbone has played the more complete game. Kyle Burrows has definitely made himself an early fan favorite for what he's capable, for what his capability has been. As Wyatt Art put it, the Milford man, I believe, is what they're calling him, because his best nights are when you don't notice him as much. And yeah, I think that right now Rathbone is your best opportunity to not only help and put the puck in the net. I also want to see him keep growing into his role, and I think that involves playing him in regular games and playing him in tough situations and trusting him to be able to keep up there. Brad Hunt is an interesting case. Of course, he last played against the Buffalo Sabres, where he had a notoriously very bad game, to the point where a lot of people were like, "I'm done with Brad Hunt. I don't need to see him again." I think Hunt is better than that game was, than his game that night showed. I think he is an okay third pairing option. I think he just was in a situation where it didn't work out because it was him and Luke Shen playing on the same pairing, two guys who had not played a game yet this season, a regular season game. I think it was one of those cases where they were I don't want to say set up to fail, because that is a little more sinister than I think it was, but just in a case of they were not in a place where it was really going to go well for them. I think in this case, you've got Rathbone, who's played in every single game so far this year, with Hunt, or close to every single game this year, at least with Hunt. I think I think that third pairing looks a lot better. I think they look a lot stronger going into the game again, into tonight's game. And with that, I think that just about does it for today's episode of Locked On Canucks. I guess if we want to do some predictions here, I think the Canucks are going to bounce back. I think we're going to see specifically, I think Elias Pedersen's going to have a big game. I'm feeling it. I'm really feeling tonight's the night. Tonight's the night. And I'm not just saying that because I may or may not be attending this game, thanks to a free ticket from a friend, but I think Elias Pedersen is going to break out here. I really do feel that it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of the confidence hitting him once and him getting back into the type of player that he is. I think playing with Höglander is going to do wonders for that as well. I think Höglander and Pedersen are a potential match made in heaven there in terms of what each of their skills bring to the table. I'll be interested to see how long Justin Bailey lasts on that right side, and if things get cooking a little bit, if maybe you see a Podkolzin move there, or maybe Besser, we shall see. But I do think that I'm putting the hot take out there. This is the night. I'm putting the prediction out. This is Pedersen's night. He's going to have a big game. He's going to show up, and he's going to be one of the three stars of the night. This is his game. There we go. And that's going to cut it for this episode of Locked On Canucks. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to check us out on YouTube and subscribe. You can watch the full video versions of these episodes. And thank you for making this us your first listen of the day. For your second listen, check out Locked On Fantasy Hockey. Host Scott Cullen leans on his decades of fantasy hockey insight and experience every day to help you be the expert to your fantasy league. It's free and available on all platforms. As I mentioned at the top, my name is Lachlan Irvin. You can follow me on Twitter at LockinTheCrease, and you can check out my writing work over at CanucksArmy.com throughout the course of this season. Until tomorrow, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time. Take care.